Call the meeting to order. If the clerk would please call the row. Present.
Present. Present. Present.
Present.
Quorum has been met, so consider this meeting open. This meeting was appropriately posted on May the 9th, 2025. At this point, Mr. Johnson, if you would please lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point of the agenda, we'll move to the public comment. I will present these in the order in which I received those. So as a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes, please. With first, Ms. Stanton.
Hi, it's nice to see you all here today. Happy Mother's Day. And as mothers of the people that have died in that jail, I feel we're entitled to answers. I'm asking you to have the jail investigators review my son's case once again and go over the footage of the days prior to his death. I'm entitled to answers. I didn't get any from Brandy, and then I went to Mr. Smith here. I didn't get any from him, even though I had a promise that it would be looked into. And then the investigator was taken off the case. My son was swept under the rug. Still no answers. So the investigator evidently doesn't work there anymore. And I was told by Mr. Smith that evidently she took the files with her that she was investigating. So I would like this looked into. I would like some answers. I've been to see Mr. Lowe. He was not there, so I talked to Mr. Pettis. He seemed so very concerned, but yet never called me back. I have a right to know. I know how my son died. I want to know what happened prior. You're in a cell locked down for 3 days, and you can't go over those tapes and tell me what may or may not have happened. I'm not giving up. I'll go federal. I have not yet filed a case, but if I don't get some answers, I will file.
Mr. Johnston.
Hello, everybody. I want to first start off, and she kind of hit something on the head about our resolve, people who demand accountability. I think that when this whole thing got started is everybody thought protesters, which usually protesters, they only hang around for a couple months and then they leave. You didn't expect us to keep staying here. You didn't expect us to keep working, looking into you, talking to the federal government, whoever wants to listen. You didn't expect us. You just expected us to go away, to those who were included in that. So we're not going to go anywhere until there's answers. I'm very fortunate. I had a meeting with Mr. Timmons. I'm very thankful that we had that meeting. And one of the things we were talking about was getting more people inside of there. Because the facts is that every single report, every single thing that you look at, the building is not the overwhelming issue. No matter how many times you try to do the timeshare and say that this is, we need a building. We know it's been about real estate the whole time. But it's mostly about people. If you look at site checks, a building doesn't do that. Rapes, a building doesn't do that. Murders, a building doesn't do that. Not feeding people, a building doesn't do that. Those are people, or lack of people. And so we need to be realistic. We just need to acknowledge what it is. Is that the way we've been going about things is not going to work. Oklahomans are generally conservative. They're not going to vote for taxes. We're probably not going to get that tax passed. So it's almost a dead cause. I would be surprised if it gets passed for that jail. We don't have the money. Brian Mon said, and I quote, "We've got enough to build a treehouse." So we need to rethink our strategy. We need to just be pragmatic, be realistic. Pragmatism leads to results. Pie in the sky dreams is a bunch of bullshit. You have to have steps to get there. So here's the thing, guys. We need more people. We need to partner with existing law enforcement entities. I know that there's a plan that's been proposed or that's in operation for future folks, but that doesn't handle now. That's later on down the road, and that's fine. That's great. But we need people right now to fill in the gaps so that we can start passing inspections. Because most importantly, we just got to work. It's about the people in there. Politics aside, it's about saving lives. So we need to reach out, find a way to get existing law enforcement entities to provide some people, develop a plan. Is it going to cost a little bit? Yes, but we've got to fix this. We need to do something now because your guys' strategies just haven't worked. All right? We need to get to work.
Mr. Washington.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this wonderful occasion. I think we all know it's been a while since I've attended this podium. But unlike many, in the background, Michael continues to work because I know the importance and need of life living in pursuit of happiness. Now then, talk nice, you already know when I stepped up I wasn't, don't we? No disrespect intended to anyone personally, but you heard the lady speak about her precious son dying in that miserable house of horror that I so rightfully dubbed it. He didn't go to jail for the jail to be his lawyer, jury, and judge. He didn't get a chance to prove his innocence or guilt. No, we're going to decide that for you. Well, I'm here to tell y'all now that you're looking at a man who seeks the CEO position in the Oklahoma County Detention Center House of Horror. That's right, you're listening to him. I seek that seat. Why? What do I bring to that ability and position there? Many more than 40 years of activism in the community. Direct experience in dealing with this criminal injustice system. Dealing with lives and people throughout multitudes of years and years since I've been on earth. You need a person in there who has a love for humanity, who has a love for people, who is very serious about fentanyl deaths, who are very serious about people starving to death, who are very serious about people being jumped on by correctional officers and jailers inside the jail. Not getting out of their cells and showering like they're supposed to. I want to do an interview. I know this man is in interim position. I want to be told why I cannot have that role. And I believe that I am the one. I am the community's choice, so make me your voice. Without me, the things are going to continue to be running downhill as they are. I'm a little hoarse, so please forgive me. I've been doing a lot of screaming all week long, like I normally do, but guess what? I get results. Because if I don't get the results I want diplomatically, I get it with the pen. I file in the courts. I don't just talk about filing suits. I do it. Matter of fact, go look at my history downtown if you want to. That's right. I don't just yap. You talk good, but I will make inroads and meet into center circle. So again, I am the community's choice. Why don't you make me your voice? I want to be the new CEO of the Oklahoma County Detention Center House of Horror. And if I'm not giving that attention, then tell me why. Because like anybody else, I deserve a fair chance. Again, I'm the community's choice. Why don't you, with the authority, make me your choice? Hasta la vista, baby, because I certainly will be back. Have a great week.
Ms. Biffle.
I would like to give recognition where recognition is due. I will say since CEO Timmons has taken over the jail, we have began having weekly meetings on Thursdays to deal with mental health and several things. They have taken several steps to look into the issue of contraband being brought in. And so I'm normally not up here praising the jail, but I will say that under the new leadership, there have been many steps taken. I will say Chief Logan, one of the staff, at all times of the night, whether it is 8 o'clock at night and a parent is contacting me regarding someone needing moved, the jail takes steps to actually move that individual. So safety has been a main concern, and any request I've made, they have basically taken care of. I will also say there is nothing that anybody in that position can do unless they have more people working there. Every single issue that we hear about is a money issue. I will say after the last death, I got online and I was looking at what is the salary for a person, a detention officer working in the jail. I also looked at what is the salary of a detention officer at the Berry House or at Edmond Police Department. Edmond Detention Center. When we look at those things, they are equal. Any individual who is going to work at a detention center would go to the Berry House. They would go to Edmond Detention Center. They would go anywhere else. We cannot have the current conditions that are in the jail and expect people to go work there. Also, all of their employees are working overtime. They are exhausted. And so, yes, there are these mistakes, but if you only have a certain number of officers to do site checks, how are you even able to do the site checks? So we keep blaming the staff, but the real issue is lack of staff and lack of money. I'm calling on the county and I'm calling on everyone here to see what we can do to give money to the jail, because unless we do that, it doesn't matter who we put in that position, these mistakes are going to keep happening. It's going to cost lives. It's going to cost everything else. So really, this is a monetary issue. And that's what I'm calling on everyone to see what we can do and put money into the jail, because otherwise nothing will change. That's also why we have current detention officers going in and bringing contraband and those things. They're doing it for money and for those reasons. And without that changing, I see nothing's going to change. Thank you.
Ms. Poplin.
Hello. I would like to bring up an incident that happened not last month, but the month before. It's when we had our Walking for Changes, and y'all did not hold this trust meeting. We went back over to the jail and we found a young lady that had been released from your jail with like a piece of a paper scrub tied around her breast. So, and no shoes. So she was put out the door with no shirt, no shoes. So somebody upon this board, or Paul, or Mark, or even Chief, owes me $15 for a brand new shirt that come out the back seat of my truck for that young lady. So then I'm told that y'all are out of clothes. I'm willing to donate clothes. I'm willing to get clothes for the jail and shoes. You know? And so everybody's got to discuss it and find out about it. I got 2 double closets, 3 single. And then we're not even going to talk about my dressers full of clothes. And that's just my clothes. But you cannot put people out the door like that. At all. Under any circumstances. They're like, well, we put them out on what they come in with. Okay, so if you come in there naked, which some inmates do you put them out the door that way? No, you don't. But this young lady was so traumatized, she would not speak to any staff members, which there was at any given time 8 to 12 of them out there. And Mark tried talking to her, and she just stared at him. And she would only speak to us, the advocates. And she only trusted us. She didn't trust anybody at that jail. And it was horrible what she went through. The other thing is they have no books. They have no Bibles. There's no churches. There's no education classes going on. There's no work classes going on. So why can't we do something about that? Like collect up playing cards from the casinos. Get library books from the libraries when they take them out of circulation. Go to the schools and you can get math and science and English and history books. And you can use those, to try to help those inmates. Because if you ain't got a mental health problem before you go in there, you damn sure got one when you come out.
Mr. Falk.
We appreciate you holding a meeting this month. As you probably know, there were mothers who came from out of state last month to speak at this meeting. That meeting was canceled the morning of the meeting on the 14th. Now I say that because I have filed FOIA request, an Open Records Act request, to all of the members here and to Joe Albaugh. I don't know if you've received them or not. That was 2 weeks ago. That was before he resigned. I would like any communications between the jail trust, between the members, between the jail trust and the county clerk, between the jail trust and the county commissioners for last month. And the reason I say that is because I am starting to get some of those records, and they were already contradicting each other. I think you probably know that that meeting was not canceled that morning. It was canceled the Friday before. And an email was sent out to that effect. And we have that email. So already we have lies. We had Joe Albaugh saying it was canceled that morning. We had people telling these mothers that it was canceled that morning. That was a lie. That was a violation of state law. So now you've had another chair resign. Now you've had another CEO of the jail resign. It's been 4.5 years. Well over 50 deaths in the deadliest jail in America. We talk to so many victims and so many victims' families, and I don't think you do. I don't think you understand the suffering that these people go through. I don't think you understand that you cannot have an unconstitutional, violent, deadly jail and leave people in there, low-level offenders. I've been watching the people who have gone into that jail just the last few weeks. Possession of marijuana, trespassing, the lowest level things, numerous prostitution charges for massage parlors, and you're throwing them in jail. I believe that the jail needs to say, no, we will no longer take Oklahoma City's low-level offenders who should be cite and release, given a ticket, and sent on that way instead of putting them at risk to roll the dice and die in the deadliest jail in America because they committed a crime that was nonviolent and victimless. This jail trust is a failure. It is time for you to disband yourselves now and turn this jail back over to the sheriff and put it into hands of people who are trained to do the job right now. There is no way. I mean, how many deaths does it take? 100? Give us a number, because when that number is hit, you need to be out the door, and you should have been out the door years ago. Do you all need copies of this? No? Okay, make sure Joe Albaugh gets his, because Joe Albaugh shut his email down after he resigned. He received it 2 days earlier, so yes, he's required to give us that information.
Thank you to all who provided public comment today. At this point, we will move to the business portion of our agenda. We will begin with approval of minutes from April the 11th. March 11th, I'm sorry, March 11th and April 14th, which showed no quorum, correct? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, please call the roll. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion is passed. Next agenda item is the presentation of report by Interim Chief Executive Paul Timmons, and any that you may designate to provide additional comment.
Good afternoon. I know how to operate this. Just a brief overview overview of some of the things that I'll talk about here today, and I'll have Chief Couch and Chief Smith come up and talk about technology and things that happened in the investigations divisions over the last couple of months. Talked a little bit about the written policies with the new mandates that are coming out, and we're in the process of reviewing and updating our policies, which is an ongoing process, and we've got a good start on it. So I've got one person that's designated to review those. And
Director, for those who are listening online and those, if you could lean closer to the mic, volume is not.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I've been accused of being soft-spoken, so. But again, facility standards, inmates welfare. We are working, in fact, one of my staff members that's over the floors currently has developed a policy that covers cleaning, bedding, and all those things that are addressed in that. And we are kind of waiting to see whether or not we need to file for any waivers for the new law that's been passed. This is a look at the laundry facility. What you see to the bottom left and the upper right are what it was before, the shape that it was in before. Looks like the vents hadn't been cleaned in years. We've had new washers and dryers installed for about 3 weeks now, I think, and it's significantly cut the time for washing and drying clothes in the facility. This is our academy. They graduated last month. We had 16 graduates. Those are some of the subjects that they had while they were in the academy. We had 16. I want to point out that we had the National Institute of Corrections come in during that academy, and they put on a class called Crisis Intervention. And it was the first time that it's ever been done in the state. And talking to the class, they found it was very, very helpful. This deals with post-arrest of people that have maybe going through a mental health crisis or whatever. And this gives our staff another tool to deal with people in those kinds of situations. We're also talking to State Department of Health to see about getting that certified so that we can teach it in every academy. We have people on board that have been trained up and will be able to teach it throughout the academies whenever we have academies going on, as well as getting our staff trained up on it. Talked a little bit about the pipeline. These are some of the agencies that we've talked to get this going. We're still in talks, especially with Oklahoma City and the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office. We've been out to Francis Tuttle, did a presentation out there probably a week ago. And last month we met with students at Langston at Metro Tech. And we were very well received over there. And I think that's going to turn into a good pipeline for us for those corrections and criminal justice students that are graduating from Langston. And we're looking to do some outreach with some of the other educational facilities here in the metro area as well, and see what kind of partnerships we can develop from that. We brought on board a new system for doing backgrounds for us, and we believe that it's going to streamline the process considerably. Also, it's going to help us verify information that people submit for whenever they apply for a position at the facility. I think it's going to be very beneficial. We still have a few kinks to get worked out, just like any new system. So we're working through that process right now. And I think we have got it just about where we need it for people that want to apply. And I think I was told by our HR director that because people are able to go to the site directly and apply, we have seen an increase in the numbers of applicants applying for positions at the facility. So hopefully that'll be beneficial for us as well. I'd like to bring up Chief Smith and talk about some of the deals that they've had in investigations.
Afternoon. This is undercover contraband busts in reference to a employee who was approached by an inmate on April 30th. the inmate asked the employee, who's a fairly new employee just out of the academy, tried to offer him some money to smuggle in some drugs. The new DO took that directly to the investigations division, gave them the information. They were able to work that investigation, and the next day we conducted a buy-bust operation at a nearby gas station and arrested 2 individuals who had the intent of smuggling in a fair amount of fentanyl into the facility. We made 2 arrests, recovered quite a bit of fentanyl out of that one. This is in reference to another investigation that was conducted in early April. CID members intercepted some fake legal mail, which contained around 60 grams of fentanyl coated on the paper. It was sent to the jail. It was intercepted in the mailroom. And from there, the investigation went on. We were able to track it down to a house near Del City. We obtained search warrants, arrest warrants. We hit the house with the help of OBN, Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office, and the DEA. And we were able to recover a substantial amount of drugs. We were able to confirm that the fake legal mail was being produced in the home, and then 3 arrests were made also. There's some stats. We've seen a giant decrease in overdoses since January. January we had 52 Narcan administrations on inmates. In April we had 7. That's a good decrease. This one is in reference to an assault that occurred where 4 officers were attacked by an inmate. I'm sorry, I skipped one. CID arrested 2 women and a current inmate that were accused of pretending to be a bondsman. This is a different one. It's kind of an odd situation. Somebody was booked in. They had this bright idea to have somebody pose as a bondsman to essentially get their own bond money so they could get out. That didn't work. My investigators were able to uncover that and instead arrest the fake bondsmen. I believe they're all still in there. In the last few months, the investigators have charged 40 felony cases with the DA's office. They've closed 14, opened 20 new ones, and issued or requested 11 arrest warrants. I will hand this over to Chief Greg Couch, Chief of Infrastructure and Technology.
Thank you, Chief. It's good to see everybody. Greg Couch, Infrastructure and Technology. I want to talk about the new radar technology that we are partnering with a firm out of Colorado Springs. It's novel technology. We have 3 units installed on the 13th floor at this time. Right now, what we're doing is perfecting the algorithm. The company's perfecting the algorithm prior to a full launch. We expect this to be a total game changer in detentions and corrections over the entire world, and we're happy to be a part of that. We expect 40 more of these radars to come in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then I plan to have an aggressive schedule on the installation of the remaining cells on the 13th floor. There's been some supply chain lag is the reason for that. And I think I failed to mention that we did get there was a post office box that was blocking a memorial in the front of the facility, and we did get that moved finally from the U.S. Postal Service. So we had a need for some better ways to observe people who are in crisis. If they first come in and we can't classify them and put them up on a floor properly, then we needed a solution to make sure that they were looked after very closely. So what we did is we re-engineered some doors. As you can see in the photos, the original doors have a very small window, not designed for seeing in the entire cell and checking everywhere. So our maintenance department, in the interest of saving some money, went ahead and did 5 doors in-house to give us a lot more viewing into a cell, which is it's an issue with the building. But in addition to facilities, we've added a lot more parking spaces for handicapped employees in the employee parking lot. We had quite a bit of room, so we did that. We did that in-house. Trying to maintain good water in the facility for everyone. We have installed a new water softener, and it is installed at this time, and it is working. The old one was 30 years old, just as old as the building. We are doing an HVAC upgrade so that we can maintain constant temperatures in every area of the facility. We're about 40% complete on that. Work is ongoing every day. We are installing new duct detectors, which detect any kind of smoke in the HVAC system, and dampeners so that it will help control the atmosphere in all areas. That is a part of a $4.7 million project. It is in progress every day. My last slide is about efficiencies that we've tried to institute at the facility for better gaining our employees' time back as a force multiplier to reassign them to other areas where we might need them. I'll mention and put it on the record that we do have a new telephone number, main number for the facility for the first time in 30 plus years. We kept the last 4 digits the same. That's all we could do. The new number is 405-907-1930. It is answered by a virtual receptionist. All of our phone lines are now fully recorded so that we can hold staff accountable for any complaints. The telephone system is better than the previous contractor that we had, and we did decide to go with Vonage. Our live scan machines and receiving are complete 100%. They are in service. They are now sending prints simultaneously to OCPD and the Bureau of Investigations. Our ongoing web forms for medical intake and processes are still being perfected. We may not be perfect, but we will be excellent when this is complete. This is to make sure that we have the proper documentation for any health inspections, and we are designing forms and other procedures so that we can document what we are doing. I've directed my direct reports for infrastructure and technology to come up with action plans for compliance with the Oklahoma Jail Standards Act, and we have been implementing those plans as the law is signed by the governor. I also have a plan to make sure that we're going to be able to comply with the Oklahoma Sentencing Modernization Act of 2024, which goes into effect January of 2026.
This talks about the medical division. We've got a request for proposals to go out. I think they should be out this week sometime. We've got a new psychiatrist that's coming on board. If he's not already on board, he'll be seeing the Bonita patients. Chief Couch talked about the larger windows to allow better visibility. We have a person that's currently reviewing the offsite medical bills to see if we have credit that is due the facility. Talk about a new OBGYN table. Talks for a new lab staying local. The OBGYN that we currently have started in February has been a huge asset for the medical area. Changing the pharmacist to a local vendors. Supposedly they're going to give us a better deal. We're looking at hiring another APRN to get on board with us. The kitchen is doing a phenomenal job down there, redefining and trying to get more in line with the meals that they send up. And we are still working with outside partners like Urban League to make sure that we get the GED program started. We're kind of waiting on them to let us know what they need to help get that started and moving forward. It's just kind of a breakdown of the population there. I think that it shows 19% with some kind of mental health issue, 20% alcohol use, and another 17 under the influence. Just various statistical information concerning the people that are housed at the facility currently. Again, this talks about some of the programs that we do. We're still trying to get the Urban League in with the MOU. We've got the MOU. I think they're waiting to find out whether or not they're going to get the federal grant that they've applied for And so whenever they find out how that goes, and we'll be able to move forward with that. Some of the other folk that we're involved with, Prison Fellowship Academy, Calm Waters, Alcoholics Anonymous, things like that. Another statistic that talks about the population that's there, 85% male, 15% female, and it also gives just the ethnic background or breakdown. The top charges, murder, manslaughter, in the male and female, and the number of felonies versus the number of misdemeanor, and probably the most that are housed at the facility, they are on some type of drug charge or a felony in possession of a firearm. This talks about the top arresting agencies. Of course, Oklahoma City is going to be number one, then the Sheriff's Department, and then the others fall in line. Those are the agencies that we receive the most people from. This talks about the count, the number of days, how many were released, average stay, length of stay is about 6.5 days. And talks about males and females, the recidivism rate, and these are people that have been booked in the facility at least one other time. Special housing classification stays pretty low with the mental health, PC kind of goes up and down, protective custody. So, we talk a lot about our numbers as far as the staff goes over there. And we have really tried to be really proactive as far as going out, trying to encourage people to apply at the facility. I feel like we've had a measure of success, and we'll keep building on what we've done and continue to think outside the box and try to encourage people to come and apply at the Oklahoma County Detention Center. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions of me?
Questions for Director Timmons? Trustee Griffin. And I'll go ladies first.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson.
Not a question. I just wanted to tell Mr. Timmons I appreciate you getting with Reverend Forsythe. He's not here, but I understand when I was down there for the last focus group, you did meet with him.
I did.
And so less than a month after asking for it. So I do appreciate you doing
Yes,
that.
sir.
So we're not stringing it out. So I just want to make that public that
Thank you.
that was already taken care of.
Trustee Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, I said this privately to you. I want to say it publicly that I was at the facility last week and there's a visible noticeable difference in the facility, the condition of the facility, cleanliness, organization. It is a marked improvement. I do have a couple questions. Some of them are follow-up. Just for my curiosity, what is our current starting salary for graduates of the academy?
If I'm not mistaken, it's a little over 41,000.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then I know we have taken some steps with the change in the physical facility with the improvements in the door, allowing for additional visibility, and then the pilot with the radar system. Can you describe the prioritization process for individuals that will be allowed that extra supervision to protect them?
If I could get Chief House to come up and speak to that, he's a little bit more familiar with that technology than I am.
And what is the launch date as well, Mr. Couch?
The launch date of the radar system, it's kind of sliding right now because as they perfect the algorithm to make sure it's accurate before we actually deploy it and start relying on it as 100%, I'm going to guesstimate about 2 to 3 weeks before they get that as perfect as they can. And then we'll have that monitoring system.
And then how will we prioritize individuals that are subject to that?
So the priority would be life safety, basically. If they're a threat to themselves or others, and we would kind of categorize them in that way.
Okay. And that's built into our medical intake?
It is.
Okay. All right. And one more question, and maybe for you, or maybe for somebody else. Can you describe the safety protocol in the mailroom to protect the employees?
It's kind of difficult to describe.
I would have no idea where to
yeah.
even begin, so anything is enlightening.
So they really have no training on what to look for over there other than being told what may be suspicious and to contact an investigator if they have a suspicious package. Really, the biggest probably safety protocol that we use right now is for them to use gloves when they're handling any mail packages or mail packages or anything that comes in over there. I try to update them as far as information that I get from other facilities around the country on things to look for and just things to be aware of. But as far as training, the investigators just spent time over there talking to them, trying to make sure that they are aware of things to be looking for as they go about their daily task. One other thing I wanted to mention before I step down is the partnership that, and I may have already talked about, I don't remember, but when we did the deal at Metro Tech, we had a very warm reception from the students at Langston University. I think that we'll be able to grow that as we go forward. So I wanted to make sure I didn't leave that out.
Any other questions? Pastor Scobie.
A statement as I look at the current population demographically, as I look at it, I see 36% white, 15% Hispanic, 43% black. Now, I have brought this up numerous times that here in Oklahoma County, our county makeup demographically is about 10.5, 11% African American. So before you answer this question, I'm gonna get it out because I'm going somewhere with
All
this.
right.
Now, because most of these African American people would probably have ties to the Northeast Quadrant of Oklahoma City, where I'm born and raised, and then I'm the District 1 appointee to the jail trust, and I have to have a little bit more laser focus there. So as I have looked at this, it's always been about that same percentage number, and I would love to say, like we've had said over the lectern today, I would love to say quit, just refuse these 43% black folks. I would love to say that. Okay. Let me read something because we love to blame the jail for having too many black folks in the jail. Okay. Except as provided in this section, this is Oklahoma statutes, except as provided in this section and section 979A of Title 22 of the Oklahoma statutes, for emergency medical treatment for an injury or condition that threatens life or threatens the loss or use of a limb, or where authorized personnel of the jail have deemed a person medically unfit to be received into custody, any peace officer or jail or prison contractor who, parenthetical pause, Sheriff Tommy Johnson has said this numerous times, but it seems like nobody ever listens to him, in violation of a duty imposed upon the officer or contractor by law or by contract to receive into custody any person as a prisoner, willfully neglects or refuses so to receive such person into custody, is guilty of a misdemeanor. So now everybody here knows exactly where I'm going, most of us. But others, they don't seem to catch hold to it. The Oklahoma County Detention Center, except for those things that I just read, cannot refuse a person being arrested per Oklahoma statutes. Or if you did it, you're going to jail. Right. You just do a walkthrough and then you're out. My point is simply this. It continues to go right back to the Oklahoma City Police Department, who are bringing these people to the Oklahoma County Detention Center for things that they do not have to arrest them for. That is where the problem is. It is not Chief Paul Timmons and his staff of arresting these 679 black folks and 569 white folks, Native, Hispanic, etc. That is where the problem is. So we have to get away from this, that you can refuse to bring into custody at the Oklahoma County Detention Center people who are brought in there by Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Oklahoma City Police Department, County Sheriff. You cannot refuse them. Is that accurate?
Yeah, unless we have a medical reason to refuse them. I would say so, yeah.
Other than that, can you refuse them?
No.
I do want to ask my colleague, Sheriff Tommy Johnson, if he agrees with what I just read.
You cannot refuse unless for medical reasons, so they have to accept them.
That's it.
Other questions from members of the trust? I have one that I would like to pose, and this is Director Timmons, because you're standing there, you get this question. It's going to be more rhetorical. But as I look at the number of positive screens, alcohol, mental health tool, under the influence, homeless, veteran, opioid, heroin dependence, those are high-risk populations for criminal justice involvement. For many of those individuals, they are likely presenting to us for charges that likely do not suggest that detention is the best path forward for them.
Amen.
That there are other diversions that may be appropriate for that individual. And so, Director, I would like for you to work with your team to see whatever data pool we can use to inform this trust so that we can have a conversation about who it is that is presenting. I think that's an important conversation, and I know that our public defender, by the way, thank you for being here today. Thank you for your comments. I know you work with CJAC, and it would be interested if that group would support this data work to make sure we understand who it is that's presenting to our care. Vice Chair of the Citizens Advisory Board, Ms. Engelke, is here. It is a topic that is appropriate for that body. But as I look at these data points and I think about some of the comments that have been made, we should use whatever data tool that we have available so that there is a clear understanding for public policy makers to understand who it is that is being detained and provided care in our services. So my question is, will you work with those bodies I identified and work with your team to provide us a better data snapshot so that we can make informed statements and policy around those questions?
Absolutely. In fact, we've had several meetings and we're in the process of having more meetings to determine what it is and how better we can work as partners to help those that need the help to get where they need to be instead of being locked up there at the jail. So yeah, absolutely, 100%.
My fellow trustee has corrected me. I apologize. Our new CJAC director is here, so I apologize for not identifying you. So thank you for attending today. Okay. Any other questions for Director Timmons? Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
At this point, we need a motion to accept the report if it's the desire of the trust.
Motion to accept.
Second.
It's been appropriately moved and seconded for consideration of accepting the report. Any discussion? All right. When you're ready, if the clerk would please call the vote. Yes.
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 By vote of 7-0, the motion passes. At this point, we are ready for a report from Chief Financial Chris Sherman. C, are you here presenting for Mr. Sherman today? Yeah. You are recognized.
All right, good afternoon. The revenue for April, it's 3.139 million, and that's unfavorable to variance by $78,932. Excuse me. And Department of Correction revenue for March voting was 121,662. The telephone revenue was 99,182 and was below the budget by 20,000. Commissary revenue was 47,523 and it was below budget by 7,477. And Oklahoma City contract is signed. For expenses, the total expenses for April were 3.533 million. That's unfavorable variance by $78,932. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. That's unfavorable variance to 135,108. Salaries, wages, and benefits total 2.264 million for the month and was above the budget by 395,443 due to medical staffing. Inmate offsite medical care of 183,857 was above budget by 113,857. And professional service legal fee were $34,686. And professional service other fee of $175,179 were for painters, janitorial services, VMAT staffing for doing site check, and professional consultations. The IT services were $22,433, and of that, $11,926 will be reimbursed from the county for the all-power networking project. And the telecommunication equipment for all-power networking project was $35,721, and it will get reimbursed from the county as well. And the summary for the month of April, the jail operation produced a net loss for the month of $393,788. There's no cash on hand after paying April invoices and April payroll and benefits. As for the year comparison and for year to date, there's an estimate of a loss of 1.720 million. That's prior to receiving the payment from Oklahoma City, and we received 1.579 million from Oklahoma City last week. For those 750,000 were for fiscal year 24, and for the first 8 months of current fiscal year, we received $829,215. Let's see. And that's it, yeah.
Questions of C?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Griffin.
going forward, what's the cash flow from Oklahoma City? Will they be sending cash monthly?
Yes.
And do we know, what are the terms of that contract, net 30?
Yes, because I have to bill them the invoice by the 15th of every month, and then they'll pay us. So I think we should receive another payment this week.
This week.
And then and the next one I already sent them the invoice last week. So yeah, they're pretty current right now.
Other questions? And what is the pleasure of the trust relative to the report?
Motion to accept.
There's been a motion to accept the report. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Motion it's been moved and seconded properly to accept the report. Please call the roll. Yes.
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 By a vote of 7-0, the motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and possible action to ratify invoices and claims that I had to approve in the absence of an April meeting so that the detention center could make its payments. I am happy to entertain any questions or to accept the motion on the matter.
Motion to
approve. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve claims.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none has been properly moved and seconded. Please call the roll. As a reminder, this was ratification of the item that would have come before us at the April meeting. So that's ratification. Call the roll. Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And our next item on the agenda is related to the, I did that incorrectly. So if we could step back, I separated it into two motions. Is it appropriate to do a friendly that we can move both in one, or do I need to do a second agenda item? Is there any objection to of including the last motion for both since it was on that agenda item? Okay, thank you. My apologies. And our next one is the invoices and claims list for May 12th. What is the pleasure of the trust?
Motion to approve.
Been moved. Is there a second? Been.
Second.
I'm waiting on the motion to be. There's the motion.
I was waiting for the fifth to be lit
So
up.
moved by Davidson, seconded by Sheriff Johnson. Please call the roll. Yes.
Yes.
Just to clarify, this is for item 5, correct?
Yes. Oh, but it's item 6. That's the voting screen that showed up. Pardon?
Yes. Yep, I sure can. I'll make a motion to approve the claims on item 5.
Second that motion.
There we go.
Yes.
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 All right, now we are ready for agenda item number 6, which relates to a discussion and possible action to ratify the contract with MGT Impact Solutions. I believe this is your item, Director Timmons. This is our annual cost of incarceration report. Yeah. And so since this is your first time through this, Director, this is our annual, we are required annually to present a cost of incarceration to the judges for validation. That's provided for in statute. This is the consultant historically used by the trust for that purpose.
Okay. I think this is something that Chris normally addresses, and he's out today.
Understood.
Okay.
So that's the explanation of the item. MGT has done this for us for a number of years. It's to meet a statutory compliance. Is there a preference of the trust?
Motion to approve.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Please call the roll. Yes.
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 All right. Agenda item number 7 relates to the contract with Oklahoma City. Even though this is under Director Timmons' item, I will take this on. You might recall we have had numerous conversations about bringing this to closure. This will close an agreement with Oklahoma City through the end of this fiscal year. I believe it's correct, Director, that you are actively having conversations with Oklahoma City about the year 25-26. So this is a ratification of the Oklahoma City agreement.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll. Yes.
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 By a vote of 7-0, item number 7 passes. This is a request for a consultative services agreement with Darrell Rose, PhD, regarding assistance in Cooper versus Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. Again, Director, this has your name on it as the presenting individual. If it's the pleasure of the trust, let's revisit this item as it's likely tied to an executive session item, and we will get that clarified and re-agenda it if necessary.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. All right, agenda item number 9, discussion and possible action on a request for proposal for executive search services. Again, Director, your name is listed as the requester of this item, but I will go ahead and manage this one. If you will recall at a previous trust meeting, there was a conversation among trustees about the importance of doing an executive search. You have before you a document that was submitted as part of the packet to take the next step forward in the issuance of that particular RFP. And so that is the item that stands before you this afternoon. Yeah.
Motion to approve the attachment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval of the attachment.
Sorry.
Any discussion? Absent discussion, we can proceed to the vote. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, agenda item number 10 is a discussion and possible action to nominate an elected trustee to serve as chairperson for the remainder of this term, which expires on June 30th, 2025. Just as a matter of record, you will recall that Joe Albaugh tendered his resignation in late April, which leaves the position of chairperson currently vacant. What is the pleasure of the trust?
Motion to nominate Steve Buck.
Second.
Are there any other nominations?
Motion to close nomination.
Let me have a moment of commentary on that. I appreciate the confidence and am certainly willing to continue to serve through the remainder of this fiscal year, ending June 30th, 2025. In frank candor, as I have observed the role of the chairperson as I took a more active role in support of Joe, and then have had to serve in a more pronounced role as vice chair. The demands in the current configuration of the trust placed upon the volunteer trust chairman are quite extensive. The number of hours, the different functions forward. So in the micro, I would tell you that willing to accept through June 30th, but any service that I might have after July 1st, provided there is not a significant change in the direction we are taking our body and our ability to provide care in the best possible way, I would be unlikely to continue service after July 1st. So I share that with you as a sense that at our June meeting, if you should be aware that absent significant change in operational approach, I will not be a candidate. So if that means you would prefer to elect somebody else at this time, I understand that. But I want to be very clear that my expectation that status quo, we must move away from status quo. So with that, I will call the roll on my nomination. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Agenda item number 11 is a discussion and possible action to nominate an elected trustee to serve as vice chairperson for the remainder of this year. I open the floor for any nominations for that position.
Just a reminder, the only two that cannot be chair or vice chair are Tommy and myself, the sheriff and myself.
Yeah, our indenture precludes electeds from serving in an officer of the trust. That is correct.
I'd like to nominate James Johnson for vice chair.
I have respectfully declined. My plate is pretty full with my responsibilities.
Other nominations?
I'll nominate A.J. Griffin.
I second it.
It has been moved and seconded for Trustee Griffin to serve as vice chair. As a reminder, this is through June 30th, 2025. Ms. Griffin, are you willing to accept that nomination?
With the previously discussed parameters By you, Mr. Chairman, yes.
With that, we shall call the roll. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 12, there is no action required on agenda item number 12, but this is to reiterate, unless you choose to take action today, that we should anticipate on our trust meeting in June for there to be election of the 2025-26 officers. That is historically when that election has occurred. Is there a desire to take action today, or may we move forward? We shall move forward. At this point, I will welcome to the podium Erin Engelke, who is the Vice Chair of the Citizens Advisory Board. Welcome back, Ms. Engelke.
Yes, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. It's been a little bit since I've been here. That is very loud. Okay, so I have a little bit of a lengthy report. I'll try to move through it just as quickly as possible, but a lot of good information is in my report this month. To begin, I just want to provide an update on the current status of the Citizens Advisory Board. We did have 2 Citizen Advisory Board members, Ryan Haney and Leslie Ness Smith, who resigned their positions, which now leaves 3 vacancies on the board. And I look forward to conversations with the trust, and in particular our chairperson, on finding individuals to replace Ryan and Leslie. We're deeply grateful for their service and contributions. Both of them came on board at the same time that I did. In other news, on this Saturday, May 17th at 9 a.m., community volunteers will be distributing care packages to individuals inside the detention center. By way of additional information, each care package will consist of 1 pair of socks, a bar of soap, a package of cookies, a bag of chips, a stick of beef jerky, a juice box, and a package of Cheez-Its. These care packages will be in open-ended sacks for accountability, and then easy access for correctional staff to view the contents within those bags. The care packages will be delivered to the detention center and placed in the care of detention center employees before and during distribution. Volunteers will be accompanied by detention center staff members for the entirety of this activity for just the safety and security of this event. All volunteers who will be participating will undergo a background check by the detention center 2 weeks in advance, and they must be approved by the facility in order to participate. We encourage trust members to participate in this if you would like to. Volunteers will meet at Team at 8 a.m., again on the 17th, to go over the policies and procedures for distributing the care packs, and then travel to the detention center at 8:45 a.m. The next portion of my report is going to focus on additional feedback from focus groups that continue to occur within the detention center. On April 3rd, our trust member, James Johnson, and CAB members Jeff Dismukes, Christine Bird, and Chris Steele conducted focus group discussions with both men and women who reside at the detention center. And so the following is going to be an overview of that, those focus groups. So the men residing in the detention center had this to say. They indicated that food portions are sufficient for the most part, but can be hit or miss on occasion. They said the variety of food options is limited, and they indicated that some individuals who reside in the facility are underweight and could benefit from bigger portions. They stated items in the canteen are too costly, but stated a variety of options do exist for those who can afford to purchase those items. They communicated that their pod and cells are kept clean, and there are 0 issues with bed bugs or roaches. Pleased to hear that. They said they are allowed out of their cells on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday for 2 to 3 hours a day, but did request more time out of their cells for recreation and to shower on the weekend. They would really like greater access to electronic tablets and recommended additional tablets for each cell. The men said interactions with staff at the facility are good all the way around. So kudos to you and your team. They indicated access to and quality of mental health care and physical health services are deficient. They said distribution of medication is spotty and explained that meds are supposed to be distributed twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, but the evening distribution of medication is irregular and often does not occur. In addition, they explained that medical services must be requested through the kiosk located in the pod, and it is impossible to request needed request needed services when they're locked in their cells. The men stated a desire for more programming and revealed that programming is limited to what is available on their tablets. Areas for improvement, again, include greater access to electronic tablets, increased variety in food options, more frequency in the delivery of medical care and related services, and then access to showers on the weekends. The men identified having routine time out of their cells during the week, cleanliness of the facility, and sufficient food portions as the most positive aspects inside the detention center. Moving on to the ladies. The women indicated the food portions are small, so similar to what we heard from the men, and the variety is limited, especially for breakfast. They expressed a desire for fresh fruit in their diet. The women reported also that canteen items are too expensive and, I quote, way too expensive. They reported the situation with bed bugs and mice is better, but requested access to more cleaning supplies to clean cells and showers. They communicated clothing is changed out once a week and requested receiving clean clothes more frequently. The women stated it can be challenging to communicate with their families, especially for a person who cannot afford it. They stated the cost of a phone call is 14 cents a minute. One person requested access to phone numbers of loved ones from her personal cell phone because she did not have those numbers memorized. The women disclosed a need for interpreters for individuals who do not speak English. One person in the focus group spoke Chinese as a native language and could benefit from a translator. The women stated the interaction with detention center staff is 50-50, meaning encounters with some staff are positive and some are negative. They stated staffing levels are low and more staff are needed. They said they are routinely allowed out of their cell from 9:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. 4 days a week, but also requested time out on Saturday or Sunday to shower. Then women conveyed they do not always have access to proper hygiene products, and access to health care is often slow and or delayed. They said they are charged $15 per sick call, and the delivery of services is delayed. They shared programming inside the facility is very limited and stated additional programs such as GED training and testing would be beneficial. They stated the areas designated for booking and releasing are unsanitary and the releasing process is slow. So recommended areas of improvement in summary include more balanced nutrition, meaning more fruit and vegetables in their diet, increased access to cleaning supplies, permission to shower on weekends, and increased staffing levels. The women identified better mattresses, cleaner pods, fresh paint, and overall interaction with staff as the most positive aspect inside the detention center. And finally, the Citizens Advisory Board will not be meeting in May due to a lack of quorum. However, our next Citizens Advisory Board meeting will occur June 11th at 11 a.m. I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Any questions? Pastor?
Yes, thank you for the report, Aaron. I'm really wanting somebody else to come and talk about this. That report, which I know that's what was shared with you all because I spoke to Pastor Christine Bird, but it sounds so contradictory to previous reports towards the end of December where I continued to hear that the portion, the food portion was large. I heard that over and over. But then also, and if Chief Timmons or someone could speak into this, I remember we talked about this 14 cents per minute for the phone calls. That is, tapered down. But I remember asking about the commissary about something like a Snicker bar. And they told me the amount, and the amount was not any more, maybe 25 cents more than a convenience store would be. So to hear way too expensive, I'm baffled because and let me just tell you, I know you just given a report. I don't believe that because I know what I heard 4 or 5 months ago about these portions of food. So I just would like somebody to speak into that.
So I don't think the portion sizes have changed. I know that the company that we use now offers different commissary items, and it probably is a little bit pricey, but they have explained that price increases due to price increases that they have experienced with staffing, logistics, and infrastructure moves from the warehouse, and just having the personnel to fill those orders and get them delivered to the facility is what I've been told. As far as the fruit, they don't offer fruit. They consider it a hot item. By that I mean they use it to make hooch with.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't offer fresh fruits.
Okay. So the costs for these items have gone up. Has anyone done any type of research? I mean, because if it was happening in our home, even on our jobs, there would be questions that would be asked, and then someone would have to explain that, and then we would start looking to purchase elsewhere.
Right.
So these are the most vulnerable residents in the Oklahoma County, not Oklahoma County Detention Center, in the entire Oklahoma County. So someone has to, protect them and really go to bat for them.
Right.
So I just would really appreciate if we would do some research.
So I think we're under contract with the current vendor until the end of next month, and a past vendor has reached out indicating that they would like an opportunity to come back in. So we're looking at them as a possibility as well. So
Does anyone on your staff have an idea of like a candy bar, how much it has increased?
I don't think so. I don't. No.
That's good. When they said that, I asked how much.
Mr. Johnson, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, Mr. You see why he did? Because I'm kind of biting at the bit here. And I asked how much, and when they told me, I'm thinking, well, go to a vending machine at Rose State College, and you're going to be paying the same amount. So I just said to the group, I said, that's not over the top. And when they told me how much it is, so I don't know if they've been to vending machines, but it's pretty expensive. In terms of the portion of the food, you remember I said I went down to the kitchen. I've got pictures, and I'll show you. You can show me where you can put some more food in those trays. I'm trying to find it. I have these 10,000 pictures of my grandson. But this is what I saw. And so, the two cabinet members, one of them, they was talking to somebody about intake, and he said, I want to go down and look at it. So going forward, you need to know if they say something, as I quoted Ronald Reagan, trust but verify, we're going to look at it. So we went down there. But I'm telling you that I went to the kitchen, and I saw the portions. And again, it wasn't, maybe it was a good day, whatever. But I did ask that question, how much, what's a bag of chips or whatever? And it wasn't over the top of me. I'm thinking that's what you're going to find in a vending machine. So, we can look into it, but from what they told me, that's not out of line with what I see at most. That's why I don't buy stuff out of vending machines anyway. Right. So it's not, but what they told me, the price of a bag of chips or whatever it was not kind of over the top as far as I could tell. So
I think a lot of people have recognized the fact that the cost is going up on those things, especially in vending machines. I'm like, you don't buy anything out of a vending machine anymore. So, and to my knowledge, the portion sizes have not changed in the last couple of months or since this new company took over.
Pastor Scobie, I believe you had a follow-up.
I'd like to recognize. So, say it just the way I need to say it and want to say it. We are lambasted left and right. This trust, my fellow colleagues, you all as staff of Oklahoma County Detention Center, and a lot of it, we bring on ourselves. We have come up short in a lot of major areas, but doggone it, I can't just idly sit by and just everything we do is horrible. Mm-hmm. So the reason that I'm really leaning into this And I do trust my colleague who goes to just about every one of them, and he has no reason to mislead, misguide any of us. And thank you, because I have heard you say time and time again how much food is on that plate, and it's not a saucer-sized plate. So it's a large plate, and there's plenty of food on there. I think we're reaching this point in time that people are coming up with anything, and the community is supposed to believe it. So now they feel like they have us over the barrel. A lot of people. And anything that's said, it is to be taken as gospel. And everything is not true. Everybody's not telling the truth. So I just don't want to keep allowing for us to get bashed for everything. I'll take the bashing where we're supposed to get it, but not for everything.
So will I. And I've said it before. If things are brought to my attention, I look into them and I find out what the real deal is. Yeah, we talk about being short-staffed. We recognize that. We recognize that we're probably never going to have enough people at that jail. We have tried to institute measures to where my people that are in leadership positions don't keep using that same excuse. Let's find a solution that works. Let's get us closer to a resolution instead of making excuses. And that's what my staff and I, my immediate staff and I, have been pushing out to our other leadership on the floors out there. So, you know, we recognize that we're short-staffed, and we're going to be short-staffed. So,
Pastor?
So if we wouldn't have had this conversation, I mean, the narrative, and I'm not talking about just people hearing the sound of my voice, but there are people who will watch this. There's news media here. So the narrative that would go forward would be, we're not feeding the Oklahoma County residents in the Oklahoma County Detention Center. We're under feeding them. I'm looking at a plate right here of food, and you know, I don't know if y'all don't know Roy D. Mercer, but he would always ask the question, how big old boy are you? Well, this type of food would be for a big fella like me. I don't know if I could eat all that. And what I also know now is that I believe the narrative would go forth that we're charging $5 or $6 for a Snicker bar. And that's not the case. It's just not the case. Oh, Lord, I can't go to the... Well, come over to the northeast side and try to buy a Snicker bar for $2.55. It won't happen. Won't happen.
Any other questions for Ms. Engelke? Aaron, would you mind entertaining one?
Well,
I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson?
Not so much question, but just on the last visit, it was probably one of the best ones that I participated in. A lot of times we'll be on the mail, floor of the mail unit, and they have all these complaints. One said no, or vice versa. This time, and we went on 2 different floors. We had to go on the 6th floor for the women because they were doing something. And for the most part, it was positive. Now, the same thing all the time about more portions and more time out of their cells, which I totally understand. But from what I was hearing from them, it was pretty positive. And so I had a couple things here because I'm just kind of hearing all this. But the only thing that, and I don't know, Tim, if you heard this, but if they say something, I want to say it. So one of the ladies said that her shins were injured because she's trying to get on top bunk. I said, what do you mean? And the way the bunks are, there's like the top bunk, the bottom bunk sticks out like 2 feet. And so she has to try to jump up, and it's metal. And she showed me the bruises, so I don't know if we can, you can't put a ladder that you can move around, but if you can weld something so they can climb up in the bed, because they said they're worried about stepping on their bunkmate getting out. But, you know, I know my old butt couldn't make it up there, but still, you shouldn't have to jump and risk hitting your shins on a metal bed to try to get up on the top bunk. So I would have that be looked into, whatever we can retrofit and weld on so they can just get up to that top bunk. But I did ask them to look at that. They complained about the showers. I said, well, show me the showers. I mean, it needs some paint, but again, if they tell me something going forward, like tell Speaker Steele, I'm going to want to see it. So if you tell me something, let's go over and look at it. But that's the main thing that I was concerned about is the young lady showing me the injury she had to her shin trying to get up on the top bunk. So I don't know how we can retrofit or do something to improve that. And also with, I would encourage anybody to come out Saturday when they do that. I mean, they are so appreciative for that little bag of goodies there. and everything else. So you have the time, it'd be well worth it to come out and do that. So anyways, but that's all. Just,
Yeah.
but again, it was probably the best one that I've been to, and since I've been going out with speakers still. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chairperson, if I could just comment on
Of
behalf
course.
of the Citizens Advisory Board, I just really want to acknowledge our appreciation for you showing up. I know that you and I have been able to participate in focus groups together, and to your point, you were very diligent to say, "Show me, like let's see this, let's talk this through." And so, on behalf of the Citizens Advisory Board, I strongly urge other trust members to also come. It's an opportunity, yes, for the individuals who reside there to have a voice. And that is the purpose behind the focus groups, is for them to have a voice and to be heard, but also for us to maybe challenge some of those, the areas of improvement, let's say, and just make sure that we're all on the same page. Because ultimately, the Citizens Advisory Board's purpose is to bring these things forward so that change can happen if indeed change needs to happen. So, thank you.
So before my question, I want to acknowledge one of your colleagues. I see Jeff Dismukes in the back of the room. You mentioned him as one of your participants in the focus group. Thank you, Jeff, for your involvement. So my question is, and this may have been covered previously, once the focus groups are done, what does your exit interview look like with the leadership of the detention center? Is there a post session sit down where you walk through these so it doesn't linger until the next trust report?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, certainly in my experience, we've not had a sit-down debrief. I would say it's a very casual conversation as we're leaving, kind of like, hey, does this sound right to you? Is this been your experience? So I would say it's much more informal than formal.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Trustee Johnson, thank you for your diligence. You have been very, very committed to that. Seeing no further questions for Ms. Engelke, is there a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
And the clerk, please call the roll. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. By vote 7-0, the motion item passes. Regarding agenda item number 8, we are going to defer action on agenda item number 8. And at this point, I will make the announcement that our next regularly scheduled meeting is for Monday, June 16th, 2025. That has been posted. Are there any general, there is no need for executive session this afternoon. So are there any comments from members of the board? Yes, sir. Mr. Johnson?
During the public comments. So I would just say, if there's a need for something, the issue with the clothing, I mean, I'm taking a step down to the homeless shelter all the time. So, and we can put the word out or whatever else. So if you're needing shoes or whatever else, just if we can get that communicated to the board and if we can put some feelers out. So we don't want anybody leaving there, barefoot or, whatever. So
Director Timmons, you're recognized.
Thank you. So when that was brought to my attention, I think it was a few days after it had happened.
Okay.
And I think that it involved an employee that was not aware that the clothing area had moved to a different area in the facility. And there may have been that, because I went down and looked, and we have an area where we do have clothing, shoes, and that type thing. It's not as big as it once was, but we still have items there that are available to people that need them when they're being released.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other further comments from members of the trust? Is there any new business that meets the statutory requirement for presentation?
On regards to number 8, did you want to defer that to a certain date?
Defer it for consideration on the June trust meeting.
I'm going to.
Does that need to come through motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. With permission to, if somebody on agenda item number 8 would make the motion to defer action until the June trust meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Stephen Buck,
Yes.
Tommy Johnson,
Yes.
Miles Davidson,
Yes.
Derek Scobie,
Yes.
James Johnson,
Yes.
Shelley Perkins,
Yes.
AJ Griffin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 7-0. And I will revisit the comment. Is there any new business which meets the definition of Title 25, 311A9 for consideration today? Is there a motion to adjourn? Been moved and seconded for adjournment. Or where's the second? There's the second. Ms. Perkins, if you'd call the roll, please. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned.